Very much. So much diversity and so many generations out there in the audience today. I'm from a unique generation myself. It's called the Xenial Generation, Xennial. For those of you that aren't familiar with the term, it's someone who was born between the years of 1977 and 1983, or as I call them, the Star Wars years, back when the original trilogy came out, which means I have Generation X's work ethic and millennials' you only live once attitude. Both of those qualities have served me well over the years and helped me succeed, but not without struggle. Because from a young age, I knew I was meant to do something great and extraordinary with my life. And I was a teenager at the turn of the 21st century. From that time, I knew I loved Star Wars, and I was good with numbers, and I made it my goal in life to be George Lucas's accountant. And I set that into motion. I went to college, got a bachelor's degree in accounting, became a certified public accountant, and even interned with the Walt Disney Company straight out of college doing property taxes. Oh, thank you. And after I left the company, Disney acquired Lucasfilm. So when you think about it, retroactively and indirectly, I was George Lucas's accountant. I stayed in accounting jobs for about 7 years before I realized just how miserable I was. Getting up, going to a desk, sitting there all day crunching numbers. And at the same time, I also heard stories of my peers, people with autism and even people without autism, crashing and burning because they did not know themselves, they did not love themselves, and they were not being themselves. So ladies and gentlemen, I said goodbye to accounting, a permanent job with benefits altogether, 3.5 years ago because I belong here, telling my story of trials, tribulations, and triumphs in order to help people become their best selves. So I was first asked, as I started this new career of professional speaking, telling my story, what are your secrets to success, Tom? And I said, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. That is the mantra that I live by to this day. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. It's what our youth really need to know if they're to become their best selves. Because too many people are sitting back waiting for life to come to them. I say it's up to you to come to life. Going out there and making things happen for yourself and being clear about what you want in life so you can become your best self. So I'm going to go over those 3 aspects of the mantra today. Know yourself, love yourself, and be yourself. Starting with know yourself. Aristotle once said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And as our young people grow up, and even if you are already grown up, we have lots of questions facing us. Who am I? What do I want? What am I good at? What's missing in my life? Sometimes we may find ourselves saying, I don't know, to these questions, and we go our whole lives not having or even finding answers to them. But answering these questions are critical to success. And this is particularly true if you have, in my case, a learning disability, a diagnosis, a lifelong condition that will impact who you are and what you can be. Because I'm going to tell you the story about how I was first diagnosed. Now, for those of you that may not be familiar with autism, I'll give you a brief description about it. As it pertains to me, from a young age, I was very book smart, very intellectually gifted, if you will. Not so much on the street smarts. Because while my peers were interacting with each other, getting to know one another better, learning those underlying social rules that we pick up on from experience with people, I was in the corner having my own fun, not interacting with peers, or when I attempted to interact with my peers, they rejected me. So I grew up being different. And my younger brother and sister were getting calls from their friends at school looking to hang out after school and on the weekends. One day I asked my mother, why doesn't the phone ever ring for me? And she had to think fast on her toes because she could have said, you don't have any friends or you don't know how to make friends. But she explained to me, Tom, you're still learning how to make friends. And that helped me have some hope and realize, okay, I'm still learning how to make friends. I can make this happen. but it was the start of a much bigger conversation, one that would change my life forever. When my mother and my father sat me down at the kitchen table, explained that I had a pattern of differences. Remember how you sometimes line up your toys and you like to watch and record Sesame Street and rewind your favorite parts over and over? Well, these patterns, they have a name. You want to know what it's called? I said, no, I don't. And I retreated to my room. I must have cried for a good hour. I thought my life was over. I thought my brain was broken. I thought that I could not be the best version of myself. But one of my special interests at the time, not only Star Wars, but Batman. I thought about what Batman would do in that situation. Bruce Wayne is a human like me and you, and he always found a way to face his fears, get the job done, and make things happen. So I realized it was time for me to be the hero in my own life. So I emerged from my room and asked my mom, okay, Mom, what's this pattern? What is this autism all about? And she proceeded to tell me a lot of what I told you. I'm really good with book smarts, not so much with street smarts. But you know what? That's all right. And my parents assured me from the get-go that they would love me no matter what. And I think that made all the difference. And that helps us transition into the second part of the mantra, which is love yourself. RuPaul once said, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love someone else? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
I really, really wanted a girlfriend. But I didn't have a lot of experience with girls. And I thought having a girlfriend would mean that I'm worth loving or that I'm capable of love. So when I liked a girl, I called her up and let her know I'd like to hang out, maybe go on a date or something. Left a voicemail, waited for her reply. Didn't hear back. I called her again. Make sure she got the message. Left another voicemail. Still no reply. Let me call her again. By this time, and I have that Batman mentality, he's determined, he's disciplined, he can make it happen. But this girl was particularly freaked out, went to my sister and said, if your brother doesn't stop calling me, I'm going to the police. So my mother had to sit me down again and explain to me that relationships, friendships really, are like a tennis game. I serve you the ball and you have to serve it back. Because I was serving, making all those calls and not getting any serves back. So our family established the rule, I get 2 serves, 2 calls, and if there's no serve back, I have to find another girl to play with. So I live by that rule to this day. But in this day and age, because we live in a see something, say something society today, and people think that maybe they'll get the hint, I'm not getting back to him, maybe he'll stop calling. People with autism oftentimes do not get the hint. And even people without autism sometimes don't get the hint. Am I right? Direct, explicit instruction, actually saying what you feel, what needs to be said versus involving the authorities is what's going to lead to better outcomes for everybody. As painful as it may be, also in the day and age of school shootings, this is what really needs to be said. Direct, explicit instruction of what needs to be said versus thinking they'll get it versus thinking it's implied, actually saying it. Now, another aspect I've learned about loving myself, I recently took up meditation. I want to talk a little bit about that and how that could really benefit our youth and our future youth. The Dalai Lama has said, if we taught all 8-year-olds meditation, all of the world's violence would go away in 1 generation. Our young people, our children, and our children's children have the potential to end wars, violence, and all of the miscommunication that exists in our world today. If we take the time to really look inside ourselves, love ourselves and accept ourselves first, then we can love and accept others as they are. Now, part of loving yourself, and this is particularly true with me, is establishing and enforcing healthy boundaries. Because when I was a young person, I really wanted relationships. I wanted to fit in, have friends. But the problem was I was too much of a yes man. I said yes to things and to situations that I would have said no to, versus realizing my time, my energy, my resources are better off elsewhere. And I had to really stick up for myself and not be afraid of offending other people. And that transitions us into the third part of the mantra, which is be yourself. Coco Chanel has said, beauty begins when you decide to be yourself. Now, there are people out there that have suggestions, opinions, and considerations for you, but you have the final say in your life. Now, looking at people with autism, and once again, people without autism, you may have your own ideas, your own way of doing things, how you want things to be done, and change can be really scary. But guess what? As much as we want things to be predictable, consistent, and unchangeable, the only predictable, consistent, and unchangeable thing in our lives is change. It's going to happen whether we like it or not. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, 5 months ago, or even 5 minutes ago, because there's change happening in our own bodies and around us all the time. So why fight something that we may not have any control over? We have control of how we respond, but what's happening to us, that's where the best part of life comes from. How you respond and seeing that you are worthy. Being yourself versus being your best self. Let me tell you a story about how I improved my relationships. So my mother knew I wanted to have a girlfriend, but knew I also wasn't too good with social skills. So she put me in a social skills class. And I said, I don't want to be in a social skills class. But she reminded me, you want to have a girlfriend, don't you? I said, yeah. Well, these social skills classes will help you get a girlfriend. And I bit the bullet. All right, I'll go. I eventually did get a girlfriend. Oh, thank you. One little clap back there. She had autism as well. She was from Illinois. I was out in Los Angeles. We'd known each other for about 10 years as pen pals. We became a couple, and she moved out to Los Angeles to be with me. She hadn't had any assistance, any services, most of her childhood. So when my mother and I are getting her some help, some independent living services, some coaching, someone to help her become her best self, it was new to her. So she calls her mother back in Illinois, also on the spectrum, the autism spectrum. The mother responds, they're looking to change you. Don't let them. And so my then girlfriend didn't understand the help she was getting and resisted all of that assistance. And I was with her for 4 years before I realized I'm not loving myself, I'm not being myself, and I'm certainly not being my best self. And I ended the relationship. And as my now ex-girlfriend is getting ready to move back to Illinois, she says to my mother, it's a shame you guys wanted to change me this whole time. I like myself the way I am. And I think that is happening more often than not in our society today. When we're faced with the opportunity, or the threat, I should say, of being changed, or that something is wrong with us, or that we're not all right the way we are, we're going to put up our guard, versus having the opportunity or understanding the connection. This help could get you to where you want to go. This is the life that you want. This will help you get there. When we're more clear about what is out there and that what's available can help us lead the life that we want, that's going to have better outcomes. Being yourself versus being your best self, it all has to do with how you see your circumstances and being open, but also considerate of what's coming to you, all the information, all those opinions, suggestions, considerations, and you having the final say in your life. So you become your real and authentic self. As I think about the school systems today and how I want to be perfect, if I got so much as like a 94% on a test, I would rip it up and throw it in the trash. I was so academically focused, I wanted to be perfect. But growing up and through my own experiences, I found out that academics is not where the source of success is. It is actualization. How many of you have heard of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs? At the bottom, you have the physiological needs, safety, social, esteem. At the very top of the pyramid, the ultimate need for us as humans is self-actualization, or the desire to become our best selves. And that is what our schools need to be focusing on going forward if we are to raise the best generations possible. So as I start to close here, I want to remind you that life doesn't come to you. It's up to you to come to life. Come to life, thank you. Come to life physically. Go out there. Ask the person you like out. Find the job you want to work for, whether it be for George Lucas or someone else. Come to life mentally. You'll have failures, rejections, setbacks that'll knock you down. But like Batman did, you keep getting up and keep fighting. And come to life emotionally. You and you alone are responsible for your own happiness. No one else can make you happy. You must discover or rediscover your own happiness to become your best self. So find your voice and use it. Solidify your message to the world and own it. And tell your story of trials, tribulations, and triumphs, and live it. Because life isn't going to come to you. It's up to you to come to life. Thank you very much.